PK52, the Saturday morning meeting, as promised, we're talking about 4Runner. Hey, I've got a real love for 4Runner. I'll tell you, back in the 90s, I think I bought 13 4Runners, drove them for a month or so, and then flipped them. And you know, what a tremendous vehicle. Give you a little background, because some of you haven't been around as long as I have. So in 1990, we really revolutionized and changed the 4Runner. Prior to that, there really was no 89 year. It was an 88. And the 4Runner came in a four-cylinder with a removable back. So if you ever find one of those and it doesn't have rust on it, in my opinion, you should buy one, because they're unbelievable. Then in 1990, we closed the thing off and made it really the SUV that you see today. Power plant was amazing. The four-cylinder had 114 horsepower. Can you imagine a 4Runner with only 114 horsepower? You know what? Hang on a second. No, it's 116. Wow, I really shorted that for a second. 116 horsepower. Then you could get that big, powerful V6 in there that barked out 150 horsepower. That was your two options, and I mean, those things flew off the wall. People love the look of the 4Runner, and they love the reputation of the 4Runner. I don't know that if you quizzed the average customer, if they could tell you what the actual reputation was, or why they love the look. There's so much more to the 4Runner that we could probably do a 2 or 3 hour video on just the content of the 4Runner. 4Runner's been selling about 75,000 units a year. That's, you know, with over the last 10 years, 8 to 10 years. Last year, now it's getting longer and longer. The body style's really not changed. It's still on a frame. Last year we did 128,000, and I got to guess, because I don't know, but it seems like to me, as all the other manufacturers, including Jeep, go to a unibody, which is not an off-road vehicle, it's a car, and we keep with that solid frame on, body on frame, that people are starting to say, you know what, I really want a true four-wheel drive vehicle. And right now, man, I'm limited to this 4Runner, because that's the beast on the road. Other manufacturers have announced they're bringing vehicles back out on a frame. It'll be interesting to see, like maybe Ford with their Bronco, since they're getting out of the car business. I guess the biggest thing I want to talk to a customer about is, how are you going to use this 4Runner? Because that makes all the choice in the world. If you're buying it because you love the hood scoop, and if you're buying it because you love, it says TRD Pro on it, then it really doesn't matter, because you're going to drive it around town and everything, and you're buying it for the look of the 4Runner. And I love those customers. They're the best customers ever. In fact, they don't argue price a lot. They just want that look, lift it up, put some wheels on it, and they're good to go. However, we have two drive systems. I call the first drive system four-wheel drive. Toyota calls it part-time four-wheel drive. I just can't get my head around that, because if you walked up to your best friend and go, hey, part-time, even your best friend doesn't like that comment. That means it doesn't work all the time. Well, that's kind of what it means. It means I'm a rear drive vehicle until I decide to put it into four-wheel drive, and I can shift on the fly into four-wheel drive high. We know that in order to go to four-wheel drive low, that you have to stop and put it in neutral and then put it in low range. The great thing, and real short statement about that, if you go four-wheel drive low range, you multiply the torque from 1-to-1 power ratio to 2.6 to 1. So what happens is, at a very high RPM, you're moving really slow, and it makes it more off-road efficient. Very rarely do people that own a 4Runner ever go into four-wheel drive low. Please, when you're taking a demo drive in a 4Runner, put the vehicle in four-wheel drive low. In the part-time system, now you know in four-wheel drive you can't turn on hardpack or asphalt or concrete, but drive it in a straight line, so at least the consumer knows if they ever get into a situation where they need four-wheel drive low, then you've demonstrated how that works. I think that's extremely important. Then you also have in the Limited a choice to go with the all-wheel drive. Toyota doesn't call it all-wheel drive, they call it full-time four-wheel drive. The difference between these two units is, one has a transfer case and you can transfer into four-wheel drive. The all-wheel drive system has a Torsen limited slip center differential. Toyota gets to program that any way they want. So what they do is they program in a straight line, all wheels turning at the same pace, 40% of the power to the front axle and 60% of the power to the rear axle. Honda's got a Pilot, and they try to sell that in the same category. Let's just dispel that right now. When you're driving straight line down the highway in a Honda Pilot, all wheels turn at the same pace, you're 100% front wheel drive, just like the RAV4. So Why would Toyota put more power as a percentage to the rear axle than the front axle? Because they assume you're going to use this as a true SUV and you're going to tow. If you're towing a trailer, you want to make sure the predominant power goes to your rear axle because it's going to make you more tow efficient. Therefore, with my Honda Pilot, I'm dragging my boat down the highway in my front-wheel drive Civic. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be that harsh, but you know, whatever. The next thing is the torsion is 40-60. Follow me, 40-60. But if I'm pulling up a boat ramp and there's moss on the ramp and the rear wheels start to spin, the torsion has the ability to transfer more power to the front axle. It can actually move up to 53% of the active torque to the front axle. So it goes from 40 up to 53%. If I'm spinning the front wheels because I'm going up a hill in ice and the front wheels start to spin, it has the ability to move the power to the rear axle at up to 71%. So watch this, 53 to 71, or I'm going down the highway 40-60. So it has the ability to go back and forth, finding the axle that has the ability to move you when you're going through something that's not exactly heavy grip situations. Wouldn't it be awesome if we invented something that could move power across the axle? Wait a minute, traction control. So front to rear, traction control, Shaka Khan, side to side. So whichever wheel has the chance to move that vehicle through the mud, ice, snow, sleet, or whatever, the all-wheel drive 4Runner Limited is, watch this, a beast. So don't sell it as the luxury package. Sell it as, if you never need this in your life and you trade this 4 years from now, the next person that buys this is going to need it, and it gigantically increases the resale value. When I show 4Runner, even back in the 80s when we didn't have this type of 4Runner, took the floor mats out, threw the floor mats under the vehicle, and I made the customer get under the vehicle and look underneath the vehicle. I mean, sell the vehicle for what it is. Skid plate in the front, skid plate over the transfer case, skid plate over the fuel tank, and you can tell just by looking underneath the vehicle that it was designed to be an off-road vehicle. That's the value of the 4Runner. In the showroom, if you feature a 4Runner, get your dealership to buy a set of mirrors and mirror underneath your 4Runner, because I'm telling you right now, the biggest sale, the biggest gross keeper of the 4Runner is how this thing is equipped to really do what we say it can do. TRD Off-Road, I love the KDSS, Kinetic Dynamic Suspension System, which allows it to handle better on the highway and handle better and undulate the wheels off-road. Read in your source book or online source, read all the information about KDSS because that's a big selling feature. And then you can add crawl mode and multi-terrain select. And you guys, I may do a series in a couple of weeks on this, but I mean, it's pretty in detail how crawl mode works and how multi-terrain select works. Verse yourself in this, and again, on the demonstration drive, put it in crawl mode. Show them how it works. Shift it into multi-terrain select and have them go through and explain each dynamic of multi-terrain select while you're doing the demo drive. Ask for the money. They came in and said they'll pay this amount of money. All of these things say, okay, plus this, plus this, plus this. Limited, one real quick extra thing. Look up above, it says A-Track. I physically think that salespeople say sometimes when a customer's reaching up to push A-Track, they go, no, nobody knows what that does. So I'm going to break it down and make it real easy for you. If you have traction control can actually slow the vehicle or stop the vehicle. If no wheel can catch a grip, then across the axles, it'll cut your throttle. Whoa. And I mean, if I'm trying to go through a heavy mud situation and the throttle's being killed, that could actually create me getting stuck in that situation. So in that all-wheel drive limited, remember, I mean, I'm connected in all-wheel drive and the traction control's working. So when I push that A-Track button, it really almost completely eliminates the throttle kill function of traction control. So it becomes traction control that doesn't lose power. So it is beast mode traction control. Think about the things that I've talked about today And then in your mind, you're going, wow, KC, you left out that, you left out this. You didn't even talk about Intune. You didn't talk about anything interior, a third row seat. You didn't talk about any of that, and I didn't. That's why when you're selling something that has the content of a 4Runner, then what you have to do is break it down for the customer. First of all, find out what they're going to use the vehicle for, and then apply the technology of this off-road marvel to the way they're going to drive the vehicle. Remember, the bigger you make it, the bigger it is. Hey, PK52, the Saturday morning meeting.